Let's go back and process that. All right. Take care.
I just don't know how it's this. So you know the dresses. Yeah. So you didn't want the dresses.
Well, we have 4 different archives. So we have a vehicle archive where we have mechanics that look after the vehicles and keep them running and in good order, and they have the transportation to move the full-size vehicles around, and the crashed helicopters and the crashed tube trains and things like that, hovercraft. And then we have our armory, which is, we don't have a whole lot of, usually you just hire our weapons for each film because we go through a lot of them, so you just hire them and then give them back. But we have kept a selection that represents all the different actors that play Bond, and those have to be kept by a licensed armorer. So we have one of our armorers look after that for us. And then we have an image archive in our head office, which is like all the negatives and transparencies, and now hard drives and things like that, CDs and DVDs. Text, I think is what it's called. So I called them and I said, "Do you have an archive?" And they went, "No, we don't. We haven't kept anything." And then we have a big warehouse full of everything else. So it's like the costumes, the props, set dressing, posters, scripts, everything else. It's going to say, like, I think we had 2 octopussy fake Fabergé eggs. There's not a lot from any of the films that were made in the 60s. And in fact, what's on display here at the Burlington Arcade, the 007 bar, is a good example of the different ways we acquire things from the archive. There's one item that survived and lasted, which I had at the beginning of starting the archive in 1995, which is the spy hole clock that's in Auric Goldfinger's private jet.
No, but we just don't have many archives.
Generally speaking, they would just sell off at the end of the film all the costumes and props, and we've got many documents that show where Sean would request his costumes to have them at the end of production, as did Roger Moore. So that's where those went. But then they do gurgle up now and then in the collectors' auctions. And it wasn't, I mean, they didn't even, auction houses didn't actually have a section for film memorabilia until really the 90s. And I think that was because the baby boomers who grew up on films, probably the first generation to be so influenced by films from an early age, had money. And this was, these all represented, you know, seminal memories for them, and took them back to their youth. So they became valuable memory touchstones.
We've got end peel down the end of the arcade as you come into Burlington Gardens.
The waistcoat from Pussy Galore was recreated for one of our exhibitions from our 50th anniversary, and it was overseen by one of our Oscar-winning costume designers, Lindy Hemming, and she was the guest curator for that exhibition, so she made sure it was very perfectly done.
The designer who actually, the production agency that designed Bond, has designed bespoke chandeliers. That's amazing. It's going to be a very festive place, and it's going to smell like...
I mean, and then the other way we do is we just borrow it from people who have kept hold of things from that period of time, like our first Oscar, which is on display here. And that was for sound, and it went to Norman Wanstall, who worked on Dr. No and From Russia with Love, and then got the Oscar for Goldfinger.
Yeah, and so yeah, if you're free, I'm going to send you the invite.
I've seen things that I'm sure are from more recent films that shouldn't be out there, and I'm not quite sure. I wonder if there might be a slight black market, because digital photography is so good now that if you have it on exhibit, if somebody takes a very good photo of it, some of the paperwork, if you will, and set dressing, you can reproduce that then. So you have to have a good provenance to for our official archive. I won't take anything that doesn't have a good provenance.